Yeah, I believe maybe I can introduce our guest speakers here. Uh, Welcome Nick Kalyani and Niharika Singh. Nick Kalyani is the founder of Decentology and has been an active part of Dapp Starter, one of the great technology that they have created. What it helps you do is create a decentralized application in a matter of minutes, right? Maybe today we will be sharing some light on the similar things. We'll try and understand about Dash Starter today, right? As well as along with it, Nick has been advisor to a lot of blockchain companies that there are. Also, he's founder at Adaptable, which is a non-profit organization focused on public learning through technological advancements, right? And along with it, he has been a guest speaker, educator at Udacity Blockchain Nano Degree Program, right? So we have and as well as along with it, he has been awarded with the Microsoft MVP, Most Valuable Professional. So this is something which is huge, right? So we have a great personality with us today who has already worked in blockchain space a lot, right? So I'll urge everybody to be calm and take as much knowledge from his experiences as you possibly can, right? Moving on to you, Niharika.
All right, so does that mean we can start the session now?
Yes, we can go ahead.
All right, so good evening, everybody. I'm super excited to be here today, and we're going to talk about a topic you would have definitely heard about, but maybe some of you know about it, and the potential blockchain holds and the future it will eventually unfold will have a massive impact on all of our lives. And just to get an idea, can I get a show of hands or a reaction in chat about how many of you are already familiar with blockchain? Okay, I see a lot of hands going up. This is awesome. So I'm dealing with a very, very smart and an intelligent crowd here. This is amazing, amazing. Awesome. Okay, so let me start by introducing myself. And those of you who don't know about blockchain, we'll fix it in a bit, so no problems there. So I'm Niharika, and I work with Decentology as a product manager. I have been active in the blockchain industry since my college days, which was back in 2017. And I did my bachelor's in India and my master's from Switzerland, and that's where I am at the moment. And along with me, I'm very pleased to introduce you to my colleague and my friend Nick Kalyani. And let me pass the mic to him so he can just say a few words about him.
Awesome. Thank you, Niharika, and welcome everybody. It's bright and early for me. I'm in Mountain View, California. It's 3:30 a.m., well, 3:40 a.m., and I'm really, really excited to be here with Niharika. She is just awesome in terms of helping you learn this material, and I couldn't be prouder to be with her and with you this morning.
Thank you, Nick. And let's start by telling you a little bit about ourselves, what we do at Decentology. In a nutshell, this slide is what we do. Our company is headquartered in the beautiful city of Mountain View in California, and we're very passionate about creating products that help developers simplify their blockchain development journey. And our mission is to onboard the next 10 million developers from Web 2 to Web 3. And our signature product is Dapp Starter, which we will take for a spin in quite some time. And in a nutshell, what it is that it will help you accelerate and simplify your blockchain development journey. And in addition to business, one of our core principles is to create a more just, fair, and an equitable society. And that's why we go an extra mile to foster gender equality. And here's what we are doing about it and how you can benefit from it. So if you're a woman and you're attending this webinar and you create a project with Dapp Starter, which I will show you in just a few moments how to do, so you can win a scholarship to University of California, Berkeley's Professional Certificate in Blockchain Fundamentals. And to enter this challenge, what you have to do is just write your full name in the live webinar chat and send a scanned version, a PDF preferably, of your college ID at scholarship@decentology.com. And one thing to make sure there would be that the college ID has the same name as you would write on the chat. And once we get your college ID, we will respond back to you with a forum link. And in that forum link, you will be submitting your GitHub project link, or if you hosted it somewhere, you can send that link as well. So at this point, do we have any questions about any logistical things here? And feel free to unmute yourself and ask. All right, looks like we do not. All right, that's perfect then. So let's get this started. So what we see here right now is a very high level overview of the life cycle of a transaction on the blockchain. So let's say someone sends a transaction to the blockchain. It's broadcasted to all the nodes in the network. And depending on the blockchain protocol these nodes, these computers or peers are running, they will be carrying out a lot of cryptographic mathematical operations to validate the block. And once that's validated, the block gets added to the chain. And that's when the transaction is said to be complete or settled. And at this point, it's very natural for you to wonder, what gives life to the blockchain? Where are all these transactions coming from? So to answer that question, the heartbeat of a blockchain comes from its smart contracts. A smart contract is a simple program that runs on the blockchain, and it's a collection of code, which means that it has a lot of functions defined in it, and it also has some data in it, which is in engineering terms called state. And it resides, the smart contract resides on a specific address on the Ethereum blockchain. And users who will use your app can interact with the smart contract by submitting transactions to it. And that's how your app and the whole blockchain as a whole comes to life. And essentially, when a user is interacting with the contract, the smart contract, a lot of functions will be executed on the smart contract. And those functions could be read or write. So when you're reading from the blockchain, it's free of cost. But when you're writing to the blockchain, it always costs you some money. And in engineering terms, we call that money gas. So there are three things that you should keep in mind while programming smart contracts. So first is immutability of code. So when you deploy your smart contract to the blockchain, it's immutable. That means that once it's deployed, it cannot be changed. The second thing to keep in mind is the cost associated with storing or deploying your smart contract on the blockchain. So each and every line of code is, when it's executed, the user has to pay a gas for it, some fee for it, or money for it. So you have to write your smart contract in such a way that it's optimizing for all of those things. The third thing to keep in mind is storage on smart contract. Storing anything on the blockchain or smart contract is very, very expensive. You do not want to store the way you store things on your database. So do not confuse blockchain with a database. It's a decentralized ledger, not a database. So if you're storing, let's say, like 500 megabytes, it might cost you a lot more than maybe 1 million as well, depending on the current state of the network. So this is, in a nutshell, a very high level overview of what smart contracts are. And with this knowledge, we have the tools to compare and contrast between the Web 2 architecture, which is commonly used these days, from Web 3 architecture, where we will be transitioning in the future. And I'll take a pause to check the chat if we have any questions. Looks like not. All right, so Hanish, we have Hanish sent a question here. What exactly is a gas fee? This is a great question. So each time you're executing a transaction, let's say you hit some button, let's say you hit a submit button, and it creates a transaction on a blockchain, it's going to trigger some smart contract that's associated with that application. And when that smart contract starts running on the blockchain, line by line of code, you have to pay an equivalent amount of gas. And for Ethereum, particularly, if you see the yellow paper of Ethereum, you can just Google yellow paper Ethereum. And towards the end of it, you will see a list of all the operations and an associated gas cost with them. So if you're moving something from variable A to variable B, then you have to pay this much amount of gas. And gas fee is essentially paid in ETH, which is the native currency on Ethereum blockchain. So executing any kind of code on the blockchain requires you to pay a gas fee. All right, so moving on. So what we're seeing on this slide is a very typical architecture that we see in Web3, Web 2.0, sorry, I misspoke. So as a user, you will be querying a web server, and that web server will in turn be sending requests to an API server, which will be securely connected with a database server. And there's a lot of exchange of information very securely taking place. And at all these different junctions, we can have more than one servers, as you would already know. And this is what a Web 2.0 architecture, a canonical architecture would look like. And I hope you're curious to know what Web3 architecture would look like. So here what we have is we have a decentralized architecture going on here. So your client app can be hosted anywhere you want, but for the sake of Web3 ethos, it should be decentralized. If you're just hosting it on GitHub pages, it might not be super decentralized. So I'll give you some examples of platforms you might want to explore. Fleek is a great platform. IPFS, it's gaining a lot of popularity. Saya, it's just as good as IPFS. And Arweave, it's a completely new way to host your client-side applications in a decentralized way. And all right, so your client application will be communicating with the blockchain network. And remember, your smart contract is deployed on the network. So your client-side application is constantly interfacing with the smart contract, which runs on the blockchain. And this is how typically a Web 3.0 architecture would look. And at this point, I don't know if you're already very curious about it, but you'd be surprised to know that you already have plenty of skills to begin your journey as a blockchain developer. If you already know some Web 2 stuff. So the focus of this slide in particular is that if you have some kind of a working knowledge of a front-end framework or a library such as React, you already have 70 to 80% of the skills to be a Dapp developer. And I'm not even exaggerating. All you need to know apart from this is how to write a smart contract. And this is done in many languages, so you can pick the one you're most comfortable with. So on Ethereum, if you want to create apps on Ethereum, you need to know Solidity. On the Flow blockchain, it's Cadence. On Solana blockchain, it's Rust. And on Quantum blockchain, it's TypeScript. And let's see the chat at this point if you have any questions. And feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions away. All right, yeah, so Nick mentioned some handy links. You should definitely check them out. All right, no questions yet. Okay, so, okay, and at this point, if I was in your place, I would be wondering, so since I have most of the skills in my quiver, how much do these Dapp developers make? How much do they earn? And this is how much they earn. And this slide is not exaggerated. This is very much the industry standard. So working in Web3 is very lucrative, especially coming from an undergrad or if you're a grad in the college. So, working and making that kind of money, it's just amazing. And the kind of demand that we see in Web3 to hire skilled dev developers, that's just insane. Like every other day, you might have like a job offer in your Twitter inbox or your email that we want you. So, yeah. And this is where we will transition into a hands-on demo on DappStarter. So let me take a pause here again to see if we have any questions. No? All right. Okay. Well, in that case, all right, so we have a couple of questions. So Arushi is asking, how do we connect the phases? Phases, can you please, okay, so if you're asking how is the front end connected to the smart contract? Right, exactly. How is it communicating with the smart contract? So you have a whole bunch of libraries for it, and this is where DappStarter really shines. So if you stick with me for 10 more minutes, you will see how it's all falling into place. And then we have a question from Ankit Garg. Which is the best platform according to you for developing dApps? Well, DappStarter, definitely. If you're starting out and if you don't know a lot about Dapp development, DappStarter. So Ankit, I will also tell you to stick with me for like 5 more minutes and you will see the magic happen. And Hanish, what particular frameworks are used for developing a Dapp? The same answer. Stick with me for a moment and you will see. Any more questions? If not, let's move forward. Okay, so the first thing, if I was in your place, I would do is go to dappstarter.decentology.com. This is a free website, and everything you see here is free of cost. So there are no hidden charges as well anywhere. And what we do at Decentology is we make the whole journey of blockchain development super simple, super customized, and we give you the full stack code for it. And as you can see here, we support many blockchains. 6 of them are mentioned here, and we'll be adding more stuff very soon, so stay tuned about that. So our platform is quite blockchain agnostic. You can choose whichever blockchain you want to build upon just by clicking on these buttons. And today we are going to build on Ethereum. So as we click on Ethereum, you see that the language in which we'll be writing our code is Solidity. Had I chosen Solana, you would see that the language would change to Rust for coding your smart contracts. All right, so for your framework, for your client-side framework, you can choose whichever framework you want, and we have gone an extra mile to make sure that we are not opinionating our client side. So if you use Vanilla.js, you can very easily use Vue or Angular or whichever framework you want to use. So let's go with Vanilla.js.
Niharika, sorry to interrupt, but looks like there's some screen fragmentation. Do you mind stopping and restarting the screen sharing? Because it's not, there's some...
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me know if it gets better now.
Yeah. Well, the bottom half of your browser keeps getting stuck, but I think we'll be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like the bottom third of your browser is not scrolling properly, but that's okay. We can live with it.
Okay, let me refresh.
Yeah.
Is it better?
No, the problem is still there, but it's okay. I think you can continue. It might be a Brave issue.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. Let's continue.
All right, so sorry for that glitch. And in case you don't understand something, feel free to drop in our Discord, which is at discord.gg/decentology. Nick will also mention it in the chat. And if you face any problem at any point during your development, we are happy to help you through it. So here, what we're seeing is smart contract features. So what we did was we abstracted some common design patterns and bundle them in module. So let me select Ethereum here. And for Ethereum, we have different smart contract features. For different blockchains, we have curated different features. So for Ethereum, let's select the ability to pause the operation of your smart contract. And what it's going to do is it's going to inject the code for pausing and resuming your smart contract into your repository automatically. And a great use case for contract run state would be, let's say, if you heard about it recently, Cream Finance got hacked for $135 million. And one of the cool things they did was to pause the smart contract. That means that if you try to interact with them, you will not be able to do anything. So the hacker, they drained as much as they could in a while, and they won't be able to anymore because the contract operation has been paused. And later, when it's fixed, they will resume it. So it's a great feature to have in your contract, in your Dapp, always. And the other feature we will select is what I was talking about earlier, decentralized hosting. So let's select IPFS documents and let's upload some documents on it, and you will see how it's not going to be stored on any one server or database. It will be scattered across the network. And let me give my Dapp a name. Demo. That's a boring name, but Dapp Starter also creates some really funky names. So Smiling Oroyarn. That's the name of our repository. And filling out that small form, what it did was it created a full stack code for us. And you'd copy the URL and you head over to GitHub, and you will see that all the code is already here. And this is full stack. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to git clone it on my machine, and that's done. And let me open this project. I could just cd into it. And the first thing you want to do here is, as a Web2 developer, you know that you have to install some dependencies using npm install or yarn. And for Dapp Starter, we chose yarn as our package manager. So let's go ahead and do yarn. And
Yeah.
what it's going.
Niharika, sorry, but the bottom third of your screen is still not visible even in Visual Studio. So it's basically, the line where your terminal is below that. It's not updating. So we may want to retry that again.
Do you think it'll help if I rejoin Firefox this meeting?
I'm not sure. Let's try stopping and starting the sharing one more time.
Oh,
And if that doesn't work, just drag up your window. So just be aware that the bottom third of your screen is not updating.
okay.
Google Meet is very finicky, which is why we usually use Google. We use Zoom most of the time. Yeah, it seems to be updating now, so that's great. We can see the progress bar going, so that's great. You're muted though.
Okay, thank you. So I hope You can see stuff better now, and I'm really sorry for that. And let's go back up and see what I did. Uh, all I did was I cloned this repository into my computer using git clone. And once that was done, I changed my directory into that project. And then, like I told you, for most of the projects, you would do npm install or yarn. And for Dapp Starter, we chose yarn as our package manager. So you would run this command yarn, and all the dependencies associated with the project would start deploying. And that's where my computer gave up on me.
Yeah.
And on my machine, the yarn process has been successfully completed.
Yeah, Niharika, sorry, but it's not updating. I think you may want to go ahead and join with Google Chrome.
All right, let me do that.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, guys.
No, not to worry. Take a pause. Meanwhile, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. We'll give Niharika a couple of minutes to rejoin with Chrome. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Oh, it looks like some folks are trying to join. We need to let them in. So let's see how we can do that. I also wanted to emphasize, if there's any women in the audience right now, to please identify yourselves in the chat so I can record that you have attended, and that makes you eligible for the $200 scholarship for the University of California, Berkeley blockchain course. So we'll just take a pause here for a minute and have Niharika rejoin. I'm not sure if the people who have tried to join have been let in. Let me check on that. Unfortunately, I do not have those rights. It's going to be someone else who has to let them in. But we'll wait a little bit for that. Oh, so there's a question here about, is there any hosting fees for Dapp, as in typical web servers? So, you know, a Dapp consists of both the front end and the smart contract piece of it. The smart contract piece of it is on the blockchain, and so is never really, you never really pay for it. And hey, welcome, Niharika. I'm just answering one of the questions in the chat about hosting fees. In terms of your client-side application, if you host it on something like IPFS, then you would not be paying for it. So, cool. Hopefully there won't be any screen fragmentation here, and we'll get going. Yep, it looks like it's working now. And you're muted, by the way.
Okay, so looks like that worked. And I'm just going to open this repository in Visual Studio Code, and yarn worked all right. And in the so now what we will do is I'll quickly walk you through the file structure that we have here. And mostly we will be working in the packages folder. And within packages folder, you would see three more folders: client, dapplib, and server. So server is the place we have a bunch of APIs for your smart contract that you code. So you will not be working a lot with server. The folders you would want to care about are client and dapplib. Within client, all your front-end code will be residing, and within dapplib, this is the heartbeat of your application. And this is where all the smart contracts will be there, .sol files. And also, this is where dapplib will be there, which I'll get into in a moment. And this is also where we have written some unit tests for the modules that we selected here. So, and this project is using Truffle framework to develop on blockchain at the moment. And Truffle uses Mocha and Chai framework for testing the smart contracts. And we have wired up all the interfaces, like Arushi said, how are the phases connected? We have wired it up all for you. All you have to do is customize your code and make it work. So what I'm going to do is give you a very quick demo of what the output will look like. So in my terminal, I'm going to do yarn start. And this script, it will compile all these contracts, the .sol files you're seeing here, and it's going to deploy that to a local blockchain, which is also spin up by yarn start. And this local blockchain is running on my machine. Okay. So Google always wants some permission all the time. Okay. So it opened localhost 5,000 somewhere else. And yeah, so once it's all done, once you see in your terminal that it's been compiled successfully, that's when this window will launch automatically on your machine, and it will point to localhost 5,000. And what you're seeing here, this homepage here, this is the client that you would essentially be customizing. So all this code, you can throw it out and put in your own stuff here, your own application. And the other tab you see here is UI harness. And let me make it slightly larger. And here we see three modules. So we imported contract run state from dappstarter.decentology.com, and we imported IPFS documents. And in addition to this, we see a third contract, administrator role. So the good part about it is that contract run state is dependent on administrator role. So our code generator, our engine, it's quite intelligent to figure out if something else is depending on something else, it pulls that module automatically. And let's check out contract run state. So let me click on the view button. And here you'd see these action cards, these two action cards here. And one of them has a green button and the other one has an orange button. And the green button says that it means that you're reading something from the blockchain. It's a read transaction. And that's free of cost, if you remember. And the orange button, it signifies that you're writing something to the blockchain, or it's a post transaction in Web2 terms. So let's check right now if this contract is active. And it says yes. And this actually went ahead and queried our local blockchain that was spin up, and it checked that, yeah, it's active. And let's say that some hacker, sniped my contract and I want to pause it. So here we see a little switch widget. It's if it's checked, it means that it's on. If it's unchecked, it means that it's off. So I want to turn my contract off, and I submit this transaction, and we are received with a transaction hash. Almost each time you interact with the blockchain in form of a transaction, it will always create a transaction hash. And it successfully went through. And now, if anybody could guess, just in the chat, if I run this view function, if I run this function again to query the state of the blockchain, what should it say? Is the contract run state active or not? Okay, not active, not active. Correct. Yeah, thanks. Awesome. So let's check it, whether Hemant, Ankit, Abhishek, Roshan, and Pulkit are right. And they are very right. It's not active anymore. And let me turn it back on. So I check this box here and submit the transaction and query the blockchain again, and it says that it's back on again. Perfect. So that was our contract run state. Let's head over to the IPFS module. And what we are going to do here is upload some nice photographs, and you'd see that they would all be hosted on a decentralized platform, IPFS, and not on our centralized database. So let me drag a photograph right here into the drag and drop and give it a good label, cool city. and submit this. And it I successfully submitted this image on IPFS. So any one of you can access this image right now. And how you would do is it created IPFS URL. So if I just click here, it takes me to a new tab, and that's where you view your image. And I'm going to paste this in the chat, and you can see for yourself that it's actually hosted on IPFS, and I am not lying here. But I posted this on chat, and if you guys could confirm whether or not you can see it on your machines, that would be awesome. It works. Thanks, Hemant. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Ankit, Anubhav, Abhishek, Eureka. Absolutely. Yeah, the first time I was interacting with this, I had a very similar reaction. Awesome. Cool. So, so now that we have successfully used blockchain to upload all these files, let's see if we can, there could be a use case where you want to fetch some document from IPFS. So the way to do that is each document, DappStarter creates a document ID for each document that we upload. So let's copy that by clicking on this copy button and paste it here and click on view. And it returns us with a result, and the label is Cool City as I wrote. This is the Unix timestamp, and this is the address of the owner, and you would see this is the same address as it's mentioned here in admin. And we have a document digest returned back to us and a document URL. And if I want to get documents by the owner from this particular address, which is called admin, so it will return all the documents that admin has uploaded from their account. And right now, it has offered some, we have just uploaded one document, so it should return just one document ID, which is this one. And that's working all right. And the cool part about DappStarter is that there are so many test accounts that we have created for you, and you can select whichever one you want. So if I go ahead and select Birbal, I really like Birbal. He's quite clever. And if we see that if he has uploaded any documents to IPFS, what do you think the answer should be? Has Birbal uploaded anything to IPFS? What do you think? Okay, so it looks like I asked a trick question. Okay, so answer to that would be that Birbal has not uploaded anything. Exactly, Hanish. Yeah, they haven't uploaded anything, so the result would be null because all these transactions were going through the admin account and none of them were going from Birbal's account. So Birbal has uploaded none of them. Had Birbal been uploading it, we would have seen a document ID here. Okay, so this was the UI part of DappStarter, and I'll be diving into the code now. So if I'll keep looking at the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. All right. Okay, no particular questions as of now. Okay, so a great question to ask right now is how is this all wired up? So in DappLib, we have our contracts, and the contract the client is connected to is dapp.sol. And the contract where all the application logic goes in is in dappstate.sol. And you will see that all these files are very heavily commented. So if you just read through them, it's like a storybook. And here we see in dappstate.sol, our code injector, the intelligent code injector, has already injected all of the code for contract run state, for IPFS. So, the baseline work is already done. And anything you want to build on top of it, that's your creativity. So go ahead and just edit this file, customize it the way you want to. And at some point, if you think that you want to add more features, but your contract is already deployed on the chain and it's immutable, and you scratch your head what to do now, the good part is that we got your back. So remember how I said that your client side is connected to dapp.sol, and all your business logic, all your functions go in dappstate.sol. So your client app will always be communicating to dapp.sol, and internally, dapp.sol will be communicating with dappstate.sol. So no matter how many times you update dappstate, your client will always keep working. So it's a great architecture design pattern to have, that if you want to upgrade something, remove a functionality, add a functionality, it can all be catered to. All right, so this was the contract part. And the next part would be dapplib.js. This is the heart of Dapp Starter project. All of the client requests will not be made directly to the blockchain. They will always be passed via dapplib.js. And that's what makes DappStarter blockchain agnostic. So all the functions that you have in dappstate.sol, let's select a function here. This one is contract run state active. So this function right here, it will be mapped in dapplib.js right here. And this function name, which is on line 24, which is highlighted right now, it should be exactly identical to the name of the function you have in your contract. And that's how dapplib would know which function to query when a request has been sent to dapplib.js. And is contract run state active? If you recall, if you have a sharp memory, you would see that this button is green here, which means that we are reading from the blockchain. And right here, we are making a request which says blockchain.get. And when you're getting something from the blockchain, it's always free of cost. And this get keyword right here, it's a Web2 term, get, post, all of that. And we've tried to incorporate those in DappStarter. So this is blockchain.get. And if there was any other get function, you would copy the same blob of code and replicate that, copy paste it, and change the function name right here on line number 24 and line number 15. Similarly, handling write functions or post to the blockchain is done in a slightly different way. So in the contract, we have this function called setContractRunState, which we saw in action a little while ago. And when you're writing something to the blockchain, it's possible that you will be sending one or more than one parameters. So this parameter here, data, it can have a lot of fields. In this case, we just passed it one thing, and that was like a true or false. Let me show this to you in the Solidity. All right, so here, setContractRunState, it accepts one parameter, which is a Boolean, either true or false. So, and here, all the parameters go here just after we say which function it is in dapplib.js. If we had more than one parameters, let's say that I change this function and I say this, that, pause the contract at 12 p.m. So in addition to this Boolean parameter, I would also have something called data.time, because another thing would be passed into the contract. So no matter how many parameters you have, you just keep appending them with data.anything. All right, so that's how dapplib works. And one of the cool things is that all the code that's here, that's hot loaded. By hot loading, I mean that whenever you make any changes in the file and click Command S or Control S, it will recompile for you automatically and render the same on localhost 5000. So you don't have to compile again and deploy again. So it saves a whole bunch of time. And now it's time to go into client. And client UI harness is a client. What you see on the homepage, that is a client. So I open the client folder, and within that, I go to my source folder, And within that, I go to pages, and there I see dapp.js. And this file right here is exactly what you're seeing on the screen on left-hand side. So if I change this to, change dappiness to demoing Dapp Starter with awesome students, and control save it. And what's going to happen is it's going to change the client right here, and it says demoing Dapp Starter with awesome students. And you can modify this whichever way you want to. The CSS library we use is Tailwind. So I'm sure many of you already know Tailwind. And the other thing is in UI Harness, all these buttons that we saw, these are also part of our client. So if we open this folder called Harness, within that, we'll be seeing a lot of files. And let's open contract run state. And in here, we will see two action cards. One of them is here, and the other one is here. And these two action cards are mimicking exactly what you see on the left-hand side. And the good part about the client is that all these components, web components, you can even make your own. So we are using this library called LitElement, and it allows you to create your own web components and plug and play with them anywhere you want. And okay, so I'll pause here for a moment just to see if there are any questions. This can be a mouthful, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Arushi is asking, so is the client containing whole front end at the same repo, like whole React project? Yes, exactly. So this is what the file structure looks like. Within packages, you have your front end client, you have your dapplib here. So yes, it's all in the same repository. If you're a hardcore developer, you can split it up and sure, get it going. But if you're just starting out, I think having all your files in one place is a nicer thing to it. It's easier to manage. And okay, so any other questions? If not, let's move forward. So each of these action cards we see here, they're web components, and they have a few properties going on there: a title and a description, action, and a method. So title is what you see here, is contract run state active. And let me add something here. Something stupid. And it will update the title right here in action card. And this is the description. Check if the contract run state is active, and you can change it, play around with it. And the meat of this action card is right here in this action. So action tells you which function do you want to call from dapplib. And for this particular action card, we want to call this function is contract run state active. And this should be identical to, and I'm pretty sure you already know the answer, to this one right here. And the second action card we see here is we have to pass some parameters in it. So we have our title going on here, description, action, method. Method changes to post. In the previous case, method was get, and this property is just defining the color of this button. If I just change it to post, this will turn into orange color and the button will say submit. But it's still going to work all right. It's just the CSS that changes. And in the second action card, the method is post, and we want to pass in some parameters. And those parameters are wrapped in this property called fields. And the name of the parameter was mode. Remember, we used mode right here. So this should be exactly identical here. So if there were more, like we had time, I would just hit space and just write time. Or if there was anything else, I would just write it like that. And the second thing you see here is we have nested a switch widget here. So there are a whole bunch of widgets which you can find under components: account widget, action button, action card, array widget. Feel free to browse through them. And in this widget, it's just capturing the Boolean value. And yeah, and it says that this widget carries the field mode, and this should be identical to what you're passing here. And all this is wrapped within an action card. And if I say that you want to modify your home client, and it should have these two action cards there, all you have to do is copy this code, action card code, head over to dapp.js, which is this page right here. And oh, why is it selecting? And let me remove all this, and let me paste this here and hit save. And you see that both the action cards now start showing up on the home page. And if you have an eagle eye, you would see that the switch widget is not showing up here. Well, it's pretty hard to guess why, but I would say that all these components, these web components like action card or switch widget, they have to be imported right at the top with all the other widgets. So I want to import the switch widget right here in dapp.js and save it. And it reloads, and we see a switch widget right here. So that's how easy it is to, play around with AppStarter and make cool apps. And instead of these action cards, you can have your own client and design it the way you want to design it. So that's all I have to tell you for now. And I know it's too much to absorb in an hour. So if you have any problems, if you get stuck anywhere, please hop onto our Discord server, and we will be happy to handhold you and get your project to a finishing line where you're happy. And seeing the developers happy make us happy. So yeah. So now the floor is open for questions. Thank you, Hanish. Thanks, Himanshu, for sending the link. And yeah, once again, I would like to reinforce that if you're a woman attending this seminar, please take this opportunity to learn more about blockchain, and you get to access the professional certificate by UC California, Berkeley.
Thanks, Niharka. That was pretty awesome. I really appreciate that. I have a question for you, Niharka. A lot of the students here are just getting their feet wet in terms of blockchain, etc. Can you briefly tell us about your blockchain learning journey?
Absolutely. With that, let me also tell you a little bit more about myself. I did not go to an IIT because uh, it's just too hard. And I respect all of you that you worked so hard to be where you are right now. And the kind of atmosphere that you get and the kind of opportunities that you get, please make the most out of it. So I started my college in 2015. And in 2016, Bitcoin started getting very famous. It was around 4 grand or something back then. And I thought, like, what's going on? Like, what is this thing? And that's when I started studying more about Bitcoin. And while reading about Bitcoin, I came across Ethereum. And when I read about Ethereum, it has so much more to offer than Bitcoin. And that was a rabbit hole. So I kept reading about smart contracts, and started making some. And at that time, I was like blogging relentlessly because the amount of information I was consuming on a day to day basis was immense and I had to keep a track of it. So I started blogging like a crazy person. And that's how Nick found me. And ever since then, yeah, I've been learning new things, all the new stuff that has been coming up. And yeah, I love to talk to people about it. And you'd know that if you meet my friends, I keep talking about crypto and blockchain all the time with them. So I would say that, if you're passionate about this technology, there's so much that it has to offer. Just dive into it.
Thanks, Niharika. You are a very quick study and a very valuable member of the Decentology engineering team. And in the earlier slide there, you talked about our mission, which is to onboard the first 10 million Web 2 developers to Web 3. And I feel like some of those 10 million are going to come right here from this audience, and we are super super excited about that. So what you got here with Niharika's awesome presentation here was a taste of what you can do with blockchain, and we are in the process of building something really big. It's called the Hyperverse, and if you go to our website, you can read all about it. We just announced last week a seed funding round of $4.3 million, which gives us the capital to really get going on this and execute on our mission. So we want to encourage all of you who are learning right now to start joining our ecosystem, to start participating, because there are immense opportunities in blockchain, like crazy opportunities. And you would be doing yourself a great favor for your career to dive into this stuff right now. Please join our Discord and interact with not only myself and Niharika, but other members of our team and other members of our community.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick and Niharika. What we'll do is we'll share the community links with the Discord links as well, along with all the participants that are here, right? And thank you so much for being here. It was really an insightful lecture. I believe that everybody here has, definitely they've enjoyed it. So there were a lot of questions that were put out, right? And I hope that everybody is happy with it. And please go ahead, join the Discord group so that if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and post it there. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Niharika.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Ankit. Thanks, Arushi. Thanks, Sahil. Thanks, Pranav, Anish, Ankita. All right. So I hope we cross our paths again. And until then, take care, everybody. And bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for attending, and Vinayak, thank you so much for hosting. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nick.
Catch
Bye
you
bye.
catch you online. Bye bye.
Yeah, sure.